And very quickly, before Sandy speaks, I want to celebrate Sandy as the second highest rank in the company as a presidential director.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. It's all because of you.
Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Peretta. They're meant to be where they are. So, all good. So, would you agree with me that we are all vibrational beings, frequency beings? Good place to start. So, your vibe attracts your tribe. So, do you want to vibrate in the mud or in the sky? Where would you like to vibrate? And really, every journey begins with the first step of articulating your intention and then becoming the intention. I think you'll all agree with me. So it all begins with you. Haven't we heard that throughout today? It begins with you. It's what you are, who you become, then you attract. So what we want to do is create a web of your dreams. And it all starts with one thread going out. And then we want to create from soul with love, joy, and gratitude. Would you agree with that? And it's what's most important for the other person. It's not about you. It's what's important for them. And then I want you to look at the crystal, bottom right. It's a water crystal. Who here knows Dr. Emoto's work? So what they did, they wrote the words, typed the words, love and gratitude, wrapped it around a bottle of water, and then basically took it to freezing point. How pretty is that crystal? We are 70% or more water. But people feel our vibe first. Then they hear what we have to say, and they see what we're showing. So every breath is a creation of your being. Every word, every action, every moment. So live in awareness. So what affects frequencies and vibes? Would you agree? Thoughts. So we all carry negative thoughts. And again, we've heard that today. Which thoughts do we wish to entertain? How judgmental are we? Concentrate on the good. Your vibe will change. What words do we use? Actions. And I've purposely put forgiveness here. Have you ever forgiven someone who has done a disservice to you? It's an odd way around. But sometimes it's worth saying to them, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. It's a pono, but it's liberating. It really is. It frees you. It's the books we read. It's our health. And we literally have patches. And our knowledge of health is building. How lucky are we? It's about our activities, the movies we watch, the experiences, the people we mix with. Now, you're probably wondering, scorpions in the head, what the heck is she talking about? So, probably 20 years ago, I got this wonderful lady, a 74-year-old retired teacher from Soweto. She came to me for treatments, and she kept on talking about scorpions in the head. I thought, what on earth is she talking about? You can imagine where my mind went. Anyway, so I said to her, please help me to understand what you are saying. She says, have you ever had these things? I didn't know what she was saying. These things that tell you you're not good enough. These things that says you're too introverted. These things that says you come from the wrong background. Have any of you experienced this? Is it worth entertaining those thoughts? It's not. Weed them out. Choose not to entertain them. And I'll show you a video clip later as to why it's so important. So this book, Power versus Force, how many of you have got this book? It's by Hawkins, okay, not Stephen Hawkins. And I want you to concentrate on the right-hand side. Okay, this is map of consciousness. We're talking frequency and vibration. Concentrate on level and log. And at the bottom is shame, guilt, then we go up, grief, fear, anger. And isn't it interesting? Well, firstly, do any of you ever get angry? I know Wilson does. He admitted it. And I do. Am I proud of it when I let rip? No. And then what happens? I feel guilty. So I slide further down the calibration. And then I go into shame. And I'm at the bottom of the base. So we need to get out of that. So we need to live in awareness all the time. What's happening to us? Now I want you to go to the top, to courage. At this point, we're sitting at 200. And courage, you'll see, as an arrow going both ways. We want to move our vibration up. Now move on to the left-hand page. And look at willingness, the second word from the bottom. Isn't the word itself already much lighter? It's much lighter. And we want to move up to love, joy, and peace. When we vibe from that point, life changes dramatically. Do we still have challenges? Of course. But we deal with them better. So, someone mentioned this earlier today. Who here believes reality creates perception? Oh. And who believes perception creates reality? Yes. I've learned that, I've seen it, I've experienced it. So let's see what Einstein and Tesla have to say. Einstein says, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. Tesla says, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. So if there's anyone here who thinks this is a bunch of woo-woo, and they like science, get out there and look at the science. So, have you experienced adversity in your life? Right, we all have. We've all bounced back from it. So I'm going to talk about a few people. I have huge respect for these people and many others. Some of you are here who I'm not even talking about. Bridget, you're one of them. But Dr. Joe Dispenza, how many of you have read books of his? So Dr. Joe Dispenza broke his back, 6 vertebrae in 1986. They were going to put 2 rods in his back. He was told he would probably never walk again. He chose not to have the surgery. And what he did, he visualized with intention and emotion. And he did all sorts of meditations. And being a chiropractor, he could see every vertebra clearly from all angles. In 3 months, he healed his back. It's the best thing that happened in his life. Look at the work he does today. Look at how many lives he's changed. And he's got equipment that shows the signs of the change as well. Like stage 4 liver cancer healing in a second. Look at his work. Then Skip Archimedes. Some of you were here at the talk last week. That's the first time I came across him. Now, Skip broke his back. He was told he'd never walk again. In 6 months, he was walking. In 18 months, he was the English acrobatic champion. He is 53. Desiree, you were there, and Josh. Would you agree he looks 35 with the most amazing energy? And then, with permission, I'm going to talk about Jessie and Chris. So a whole lot of you know Jessie. Jessie is like a double Duracell bunny. And when I spoke to her about LifeWave, like 18 months or more ago, she was going through a huge financial challenge. First time in her life. Did it affect her? Of course it did. Went into victim mode. Isn't that what humanity does? What we all tend to do? And she kept using the grandchildren as excuses. Man, and has she got a troop of grandchildren? Yo, there are many of them. And I stayed in touch, and she kept talking about that. I didn't push her, because I believe, like George, Chris, Lucinda, everything happens at the right time. But after 8 months of hearing the moaning, I said to her, Jessie, enough. But I could say that to her, and you understand. I said, stop purring around. And that was the right time, right place. She changed. What's she doing? She's like a double Duracell bunny again. What is the difference? Same person, same emotions, same mindset, same spiritual body, more experience. A mindset change. That's all we need, is a mindset change and willingness. You all know Chris's story. But Chris's second part of the story, Eric and I were around Chris when he lost everything. And we all have clothes and books. Chris had a laptop and a desk. Nothing else. True. Has Chris changed his life? Dramatically. Does he lead by example? Hugely. And has Chris changed our lives? And has he put things in place for us? Massively. He's helped everyone else. Automatically, that's helped him. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, George, for introducing Chris. And then briefly about us. A few years ago, we had our whole pension stolen. Is that easy when you're in your 70s? No. I went into victim mode. I felt like I was imploding. I went snot and trana for the English. I bawled my eyes out. I kicked, I screamed, I swore like a trooper. I was angry. I was upset. And man, was I terrified. Absolute, and I was the breadwinner. But I knew I had to change my mind, because I've been working with this for about 30 years. So I said to myself, you've got 3 days. 3 days, you can kick, scream, shout, swear, do whatever you wish. On the 4th day, you will change. On the 4th day, it took me 2 hours of just quietly talking to myself to calm this and this. 2 hours. I managed to calm it. And then I started planting the thoughts I wish to entertain in my head. Did my life change like that? No. But it certainly started changing. And I believe that's why we've attracted LifeWave. Thanks, Chris. So, the key is to set targets. 30, 60, 90-day targets. Once you've done that, 30, 60, 90-day targets. What rank do you want to reach? And this is in all areas of your life. But let's talk LifeWave. What do you want to achieve? What rank? Who are you working with? Who are you going to help to achieve? Because this is servant leadership. The more people we help, the more it flows, and it'll help us, exactly like George and Chris. I've dedicated a page to gratitude, because I honestly believe gratitude underlies everything. And I start my day with gratitude. I end my day with gratitude. When I'm paying an account, I give thanks, because I have the financial resources. When I receive money, I give thanks, I bless it, and I ask that it return to that business or company many times over. And I honestly believe that'll happen. That's my gratitude jar. Every Monday morning, I write a little note, a thank you of something special that occurred during the week. Every week, there's one or more things that I can really say thank you for. And I often find myself walking around the house and saying, thank you, Chris, thank you, George, thank you, Harvey, David, LifeWave, thank you, God. I'm so happy that I am where I am. So, this book I absolutely love, and I delve into it regularly. It's about living in the question. So I want you to do an exercise, please. We can do it very quickly. In your mind, say, I earn $1 million a month. Oh, okay. Are you feeling, in your mind, are you feeling slightly heavy or light? Heavy. Because the first thing, when we say something, and our mind disagrees, it says you're lying sod. Now, I want you to throw it out there in a question. So what will it take for me to earn $1 million a month? Is that lighter? Yes, it is. This book is about living in the question. So what are we willing to receive? What are you willing to receive? And something I learned from this book, you are not your business. Your business is a separate entity with separate energy. So ask of it regularly. What can I contribute to you today? What would you like to create next? We'll just skip forward. Who would you like to talk to today? Who would you like to have involved with your business? Who is the next active business builder to join you? You'll be surprised. And imagine what you could do if you knew you couldn't fail. This is the first book of Dr. Joe Dispenza's that I read. I'm going to encourage every single person to buy this book. He touches on affirmations. He goes into visualizations. And as he says, when you visualize as clearly as you can with emotion. But when you get up from that, and as if it's happened, when you get up, you have to be a different person from when you walked in, sat down to visualize. When you get the book, go to page 35, read the next 2.5 pages about his daughter's story. I believe everyone will be gobsmacked at what she achieved. So now, I'm going to show you a video clip, Neurons That Fire Together, Wire Together. This is Dr. Joe Dispenza talking, and no one can do it better. Eric, give me some water, please.
Good afternoon. Now, we have 3 brains that allow us to go from thinking to doing to being. Each brain is its own individual biocomputer with its own anatomy and own circuitry, its own physiology and chemistry. They even have their own history as well as their own sense of time and space. Now, the first brain, the neocortex, it's the newest brain in evolution. It's that walnut-shaped structure that sits on the outside with all of its folds and valleys in yellow there. It's the newest, the most evolved and highly specialized in human beings. Right under the neocortex is called the limbic brain, the chemical brain, the emotional brain, or the mammalian brain. It's about the size of a lemon, and it's responsible for regulating internal chemical order. Right in the back of the brainstem there in red is called the cerebellum, the reptilian brain. It's the oldest brain in evolution. It's the seat of the subconscious mind. Now, your brain is made up of about 100 billion neurons. If you took 100 billion sheets of paper and stacked them on top of each other, it would be 5,000 miles high. That's the distance from Los Angeles to London. Now, nerve cells possess the unique ability to store and communicate information between each other. So your neocortex, your thinking brain, is the seat of your conscious awareness. You're listening to me right now with your neocortex. And what the neocortex loves to do is to gather information. And every time you learn something new, you make a new synaptic connection in your thinking brain. That's what learning is. Learning is forging new connections. And every time you learn something new, your brain physically changes. So you read a book on how to ride a bicycle, you read a book on how to build a doghouse, you read a book on how to dance the salsa, how to cook French cuisine, how to become successful, how to be a better parent. And your brain literally upscales its hardware to reflect a new level of mind. The principle in neuroscience says this: nerve cells that fire together wire together. And as you begin to learn new information, you biologically wire that information into your cerebral architecture. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. And just like any relationship, the more you communicate, the more bonded you become. And neurons are exactly the same way. Now, once these neurons begin to fire and wire together, they actually form networks, what neuroscientists call neural networks. Now, neural networks are just gangs of neurons that have fired and wired together to form a community of neurosynaptic connections. It could be related to an idea, a concept, a memory, experience, a skill or behavior and action. But these networks actually have an electrochemical component. And if you want to see mind in action, watch this. That's a thought right there. Again. So you generate more electrical impulses in your brain in one day than all the cell phones on the planet put together. Now, the neuroscientific definition of mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. Mind is what the brain does. And because we have 100 billion neurons seamlessly pieced together, we can make the brain fire in different sequences, different patterns, and different combinations. And whenever we make the brain work differently, we're changing our mind. Now, there's a very, very unique shuffle that kind of goes on microscopically between different circuits in your brain. You're trying to fire this new thought called compassion. But remember, you fired and wired all these other circuits based on the last 10 years. So as you're beginning to fire this new thought, all these other thoughts are saying, you hate your mother-in-law, you don't want to go to that dinner, why don't you start tomorrow? This isn't a good time to do this. But if you persist with a certain amount of amplitude, and you put your attention behind that thought, sooner or later, that thought will be the strongest and loudest voice in your head. Now, the moment that becomes the loudest voice in your head, the brain has to seal that circuit more permanently. So when the action potential is firing down the neuron from the presynaptic cleft to the postsynaptic cleft, there's a glue that seals the circuit called neural growth factor, and it travels in the opposite direction. But there's only a certain amount of that neural growth factor to go around. So it starts to steal the glue from the neighboring circuits. And when that happens, there goes your memory of your mother-in-law hurting your feelings 10 years ago. There goes the thought that you hate her. There goes the impatience. There goes the intolerance. And the only signal now that's traveling to that neuron is called compassion. Now, every place where one neuron connects with another neuron is a memory. When this happens, you begin to biologically and neurologically prune away the old memory of the old self. And this is the science of changing your mind. If you want to see what it looks like in real time, let's try that again. You want to see what it looks like in real time, unhooking from the old self, reconnecting to the new self. This can happen in moments.
Thank you. So live in the now, generating your future. And get out there, have fun. Oh, get out there, have fun, but work from the heart and soul always, and experience the joy of this business. So thank you, everyone, and may the light you leave illuminate the path for others. Thank you.